The 2024 NFL season has been downright chock-filled with surprises.
It's a historic start in that it was so unlikely and unexpected.
It feels like there's been a shock around every single corner. So today, let's dive into the moments, stories, and players that have made this season one of the most unpredictable yet. Garrett Wilson looking absolutely lost. Before the season started, nobody was sleeping on the New York Jets, especially with Aaron Rodgers under center. In fact, people were pretty high on the Jets and their offense. I mean, with talented skill players like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, who carried the offense last season with Zach Wilson under center, it felt like all this group really needed was an upgrade at QB, and they would be really unlocked. And you know what? Week 1 aside, this unit has been fairly impressive. But you know what's been surprising? It's not just the fact that they've done it without much production from the aforementioned Wilson, who is far and away their most talented wide receiver, but frankly, how lost Garrett Wilson has looked in this offense. I mean, this guy was supposed to be Aaron Rodgers' go-to weapon, and yet he's basically just been a non-factor. And for some reason, it seems like the chemistry between him and Rodgers just hasn't been there, and opposing defenses have taken full advantage of that. Considering this is a guy who is expected to be lighting up secondaries all season, Wilson's slow start has been one of the bigger surprises. Justin Fields stealing the job in Pittsburgh. Here's a twist that very few saw coming. After getting cast aside by the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields might have just found himself as the new starting quarterback for another one of the league's most historic franchises, albeit this time a much more successful one, in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Philly seems to be rallying behind him. Better yet, he's also led the Steelers to a perfect 3-0 start, their first since 2020, and of course the 10th in franchise history. This should bode well for Fields and the Steelers, considering 9 of those 10 years, Pittsburgh made the playoffs, and in 2 of them, they captured Super Bowl wins. Pittsburgh was expected to roll with Wilson this season, but with the way that Fields has been playing, it would not be shocking if he keeps the job even when Wilson is healthy, even though Mike Tomlin has still managed to avoid naming him the official starter going forward. Jalen Hurts continuing to regress. Alright, here's another thing that we didn't expect to be talking about. Jalen Hurts is still struggling. Yeah, sure, the Eagles are off to a pretty decent start, but Hurts has been anything but sharp. The turnover bug bit him at some point last year, and it will not relent. The man has thrown 4 interceptions and fumbled 3 times in just 3 games so far in 2024, and now has 12 turnovers in his past 9 regular season games, which is the most in the league. If that weren't enough, how about the fact that Hurts has 18 interceptions since opening day last year, which is tied for second most in the league behind only Sam Howell's 21. This right here is the same guy who was in the MVP conversation not too long ago, and while he is clearly missing AJ Brown, he still has talent all over the field on offense. And yet, Hurts has been making careless mistakes with the football. The Chiefs' red zone offense. The Kansas City Chiefs are sitting pretty, but don't let that fool you. There are some serious issues lurking beneath the surface. The Chiefs' red zone offense has been brutal. They've scored touchdowns on just 44% of their trips inside the 20-yard line, which is tied for 22nd in the league. Part of the reason is that one of their biggest weapons, Travis Kelce, has not looked super sharp so far this season. You have to wonder if maybe all of the off-field engagements, or I guess just his age, is maybe starting to finally catch up to him. Thus far, Mahomes has been able to do what he does and pull off enough magic to get the Chiefs over the finish line and into the winner's circle, but Kansas City has just been barely sneaking by. And if they don't figure out how to start finishing drives in a more consistent manner, well, there could be cause for concern in KC for the back-to-back champs. The Ravens' slow start. Alright, let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. This is a team that came into the season as the defending #1 seed in the AFC. And while they did get bumped out of the 2024 playoffs in embarrassing fashion yet again, there were still high expectations for them this season, especially with the addition of future Hall of Fame running back Derrick Henry to help take some of the pressure off of Lamar Jackson. But unfortunately, for the folks in the Charm City, they have stumbled yet again, this time right out the gate. They lost their opener to the Chiefs, which, okay, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll give them a pass. But come on, week 2, they got upset at home by Gardner Minshew and the Las Vegas Raiders. Then they just barely survived against the Cowboys after nearly blowing a huge 28-6 lead. Baltimore has a lot of work to do if they want to turn this season around. Lamar Jackson has been running for his life behind a shaky offensive line, and that defense still has not been up to par either. Sam Darnold and the Vikings' resurgence. If you had told me just a few months ago that Sam Darnold would be leading the Minnesota Vikings to a 4-0 start in 2024, 2024, I would have said you're crazy. And yet, here we are. Darnold has been on fire to start the season, breathing new life into his career and leading the Vikings to the top of the NFC North. And surprisingly, hell hasn't even frozen over. He's been lighting it up in a way that has revitalized his career and looks like might have some staying powers. This is genuinely one of the biggest surprises of the season. And if Darnold keeps this up, Minnesota might just be a real contender. That is not a bad return on investment for the Vikes, who are paying the quarterback just $10 million on a one-year deal. The Cincinnati Bengals start. Yeesh, alright, so this one is gonna hurt for Bengals fans. Losing Joe Burrow in 2023 was heartbreaking, but with him returning to form, Cincinnati came into 2024 with Super Bowl aspirations. But those dreams are looking more like a delusion because nothing has gone right for them. It all started with a loss in Week 1 to New England, a team that everybody and their mother predicted to be among the worst in the league. Cincinnati's slow starts are becoming a troubling trend. They've overcome these kinds of slumps in the past, but it feels different this year. Honestly, it's hard to see how they climb out of this hole. And for a team with such high expectations, this is a downright disaster. Josh Allen being an MVP frontrunner. Alright, while Josh Allen has always been a bit of a media darling, he managed to come into this season rather underrated. I mean, Stephon Diggs was shipped out of town and everyone was starting to believe that he and the Bills' offense just wouldn't look the same. And, in fairness, he hasn't. He's actually looked better. The guy has been on another level to start the 2024 season. He's currently leading the league in total touchdowns and is second in completion percentage and passing touchdowns. And the most impressive part, he's only turned the ball over once. Hey, don't look now, but this could be the year that Josh Allen captures MVP honors. And heck, maybe even a Lombardi trophy. Clint Kubiak's offensive genius. While most of the attention is typically focused on the players, or at least on the head coaches, here's a surprising, surprise for you. Offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak has completely transformed the New Orleans Saints offense. After a painfully inconsistent 2023 season, the Saints knew they needed to make some changes. And they brought in Kubiak as an offensive coordinator who has proven to be the exact right change that they really desperately needed. The Saints have completely overhauled their offensive philosophy under Kubiak, leaning heavily into pre-snap motion and play action, two things that they rarely used last season under Pete Carmichael Jr. And to say that the offense looked more dynamic is a tremendous understatement. It's still early, but the signs are very promising. Demise of 2023 rookie QBs. It's been a tough year for the crop of 2023 quarterback prospects: Will Levis, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson. The Titans' offensive line has struggled to protect quarterback Will Levis, who was sacked 15 times, but he has not looked good. Levis has really struggled to protect the football, and it looks like he's in real danger of losing his job. And speaking of losing your job, journeyman Andy Dalton proved coach Dave Canales was right in benching Bryce Young. And now it looks like the former first overall pick will be on the trade block for pennies on the dollar. Young has only had 2 TD passes in his past 9 starts. Yikes. Anthony Richardson hasn't been much better either. The Colts quarterback has been wildly inconsistent, completing just 49% of his passes and throwing 6 picks in 3 games. Really, the only person in this class that has found any success has been CJ Stroud. But hey, which do you think has been the biggest surprise of the 2024 NFL season so far? Which one has been the craziest to you? What do you think we got right here? What do you think we got wrong? Was there anything that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. And hey, if you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking that like button helps us out a ton, and we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then hey, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day.